back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk. Drago Bosnic. Drago, welcome back. How you doing? Good to see you again.
Of course, the pleasure's all mine, man.
Excellent to have you back. It's always good to record with you. You're one of the more regular guests, if not the most regular guest, and you're definitely clued into the fact that this is a comedy show and nothing we say or do here has anything to do with reality. So, yeah. Hi, everybody who's new. Welcome. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Drago's got a bunch of articles, as always, to get through. The first one that I see here is one that we discussed in brief last time, because you had written it, but it wasn't posted. So do you want to maybe glance over PR victories of the Ukraine junta?
Yeah. Essentially, the Russians are losing. That's all. That is basically the part of the job.
Yes, constantly losing for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, as Mr. Joaquin Flores would say, they're losing forward. It's a really unique situation in the history of warfare. So it's quite interesting. I mean, every time when we see that the Kiev regime forces are not doing very well in the front lines, suddenly they start winning. All these PR victories by destroying very, very important Russian assets, such as the Su-57. And it's not just that they supposedly destroyed one, but it's actually two, as they claim, even though we don't have any proof that even one was destroyed. But either way, I guess anything goes in Western media nowadays when it comes to supporting the image of the Kiev regime winning all the time, which they've been doing for the last 2.5 years, I guess.
Yeah, definitely winning. What can I say? Should we get into some memes? I've got a couple of memes. Lots of things happened since we last talked. This is actually not a meme. This is something off my feed that was rather interesting to come across. Photo of Russian kamikaze drone Lancet that flew past the Ukrainian reconnaissance drone that was on a mission at the moment it took the video. So here we have a Lancet meeting drone. What do you have to say about the condensation? No, the density of drone warfare over Ukraine.
Well, I mean, it's obvious because the chances of two drones getting by each other like that are pretty slim. When it comes to the size of the front line, when we see all that enormous space, if I'm not mistaken, 1,300 kilometers, that's the length of the front lines. If we don't take into account all these small changes that happen from time to time, or actually all the time. But as you said, the density of drone warfare tells you all you need to know about how many drones are involved and how important they've become for both sides, especially the Russians, because the Lancet is essentially a superstar of the Ukrainian conflict at this point. And as far as I know, at least that's what they're claiming, the Ukrainians and the Czechs have actually made a copy of this drone. I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to churn out in terms of production, but I guess they realize just how important this thing is for the Russians or any other side that wants to win a conflict. And it's dirt cheap, and it has been able to take out groups of soldiers, extremely expensive Western tanks. So you can imagine how a $50,000 drone takes out a $5 million tank. You can imagine how much the economy of warfare is on the side of the Russians in this case.
Yeah, I'm looking here for some video. Considering you mentioned the drones, I think I'll play this little video. We've got a Russian supply drone that came across my feed today. And I guess it's also could be used for evacuation. But the fact that the Russians are building up their drone forces at such a speed is rather interesting. What do you have to say about the drone warfare evolution?
It's obviously a far more effective way to transport anything that the military need. I mean, it's a far more effective way of conducting logistics in warfare than forcing soldiers, to go somewhere in trucks and possibly get blown up by the enemy. So if you lose I don't know 10,000 of these is a lot better than losing 10,000 soldiers. So I guess this is where we will see the warfare evolve towards. And it's only logical. And I think I've seen some data about this drone. I forgot the name of the drone, but I think it can carry up to 150 kilograms of munitions or any other supplies that the military needs. So it tells you all you need to know how effective this thing is, and it's not that even small. You know, if you look at the video and if you compare the size of the drone to a person, it could easily carry like 2 people, maybe one if it's a wounded person, but it could carry 2 people if it's necessary to evacuate the area as fast as possible. So I guess we'll see more of that, because it's only logical that the country will want to use its resources to reduce the casualties among the manpower.
Let's move on to the neo-Nazi junta threatening Russia with a terror campaign if it wins. This came across my feed, and then a couple of days later, you know, I follow that World War II YouTube channel. Those guys, Indian, what's his name? I can't remember his name right now. But the point is, like they've been going day by day through, like, or week by week, I should say, through World War I and World War II. And they recently came out with a video discussing basically how the Nazis, the original Nazis, did basically the same thing when they lost. They were like the Wolverines or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, they've actually killed the vast majority of civilians that they killed was in the later stages of the war. When they came to Russia, when they conquered parts of the Soviet Union, they were actually quite smart. They were not killing people right away. What they were doing is like they were reopening churches. They were like allowing people to do things that the communists were banning, so that they could get some, you know, let's say.
Brownie points, basically, with the local population, like
exactly.
get
some sympathy from the locals, exactly. So they were quite cunning. I mean, that's what they do essentially. That's what they've been doing. That's how they got into power in Germany in the first place. So in the later stages, when they started losing, they realized, okay, we're going to lose, but let's do as much damage as we can. And this is exactly what we see happening now. As the Kiev regime is losing, we will see them becoming more and more aggressive towards people who can't defend themselves. And of course, civilians are the number one target in that sort of situation. And to me, it's incredible that the Western media are openly talking about this as if it's going, you know, I don't know, to buy groceries. Like, we're talking about terrorist attacks, future terrorist attacks on, God forbid, obviously, on schools and school children. So I really don't understand how anyone sane could endorse something like that, but this is what we see in Western media. And essentially what they're saying is the Russians should fall back and, you know, like, give the Kiev regime all the territories it wants, and that would be the solution for the Ukrainians not to start this terror campaign. Instead of like saying, okay, you know, psychos, why don't you just lay off the talk about terrorist attacks and plans to do that? But no, they really think it's an acceptable strategy to push back the Russians.
No comment. No comment. It's just like it's beyond, like, I can't believe we're living in this kind of reality, honestly.
Yeah.
Where, like you say, they're justifying or like trying to like rationalize future terrorist attacks. It's hilarious.
Can you imagine what they would do? Like, it would be all over the news if some Russian expert, like not even a guy who was like part of the Russian government, but just like random Russian guy, if he said, okay, we will finance terrorist attacks across Western Europe because they're sending weapons to the Kiev regime. Can you imagine? Like, it would be all over the news. Like, the Russians would be, I don't know, worse than the fans of nuts. So,
God forbid it was like the Serbs or the Palestinians or like Assad. You know what I mean? That would definitely be a serious violation of terms and standards of modern democracy.
Well,
yeah, Untermenschen.
Yeah, Untermenschen, we're fair game. You know, we can all be killed in terrorist attacks, but when it comes to Westerners, no, that's off the table.
Moving right along. Sanctions are working, one of our favorite topics. We've also got some fans of nuts in Ukraine. There are no Nazis in Ukraine. Russia overtakes Japan as the fourth largest economy in the world. Why? How is that possible?
Well, to be honest, I'm at a loss. I think the IMF and the World Bank are pushing Russian propaganda at this point because that's what they do. That's what their job is. Jokes aside, people can click on the links. I've provided enough links to the websites that are explaining how this has happened. And I just want to point out that this is not the nominal GDP. A nominal GDP is not a very good measure of economic might. Otherwise, people who think that it is, they believe that Spain and Russia are comparable economies. Now, if you think that's true, as some of my colleagues would say, I have a bridge to sell you, so please go on believing in that.
Yeah, let's just leave it at I have a bridge to sell you. I want to take a break here to say that you can find me on Buy Me a Coffee. I want to thank all the subscribers who have bought me coffee so far. And also, I want to thank everybody who's a Patreon, because you can also find me on Patreon. Now that that's out of the way, shall we watch a video? I want to watch a video. And I want to get your take on this video. You might recognize it. This is the first time that the Russians used
3,000, right?
FAB 3000, yes, which has a 1,200 kilogram warhead, something like that.
Yep. I've seen the comments of some people. They said it missed. And
I don't think you can miss with that caliber. Yeah.
I was just about to say that, like, it might not have destroyed the entire building, visibly speaking. However, do you really think that the shockwave spared anyone who was in the radius of, I don't know, 300, 400 meters? So
I actually have some stats on the shockwave, but I want to draw attention to like military summary, because he found a video of the aftermath, and it's filmed from the other side, like from the street. Let me find my cursor, from the street here. And you can see like a huge hole in the building on the other side. So basically, as you say, the shockwave, when it went through the building, it collapsed everything on the inside of the building. So basically, even though the building looks like it's still, standing, nobody's there.
Yeah, I mean, like the point is, a lot of people don't even know how explosives work. The point is, you don't have to be killed by the shrapnel or the fire or whatever. Mm-hmm. You could be killed by the shockwave. And there are examples of people dying from the shockwave. Like, there's nothing that suggests that they should be dead. They even look like they just fell asleep, right? Yeah. However, like, they probably have massive internal bleeding, broken bones, and simply collapsing organs, or organs that have already stopped working. So, I didn't see it. Like, how is it even relevant that the bomb didn't hit precisely on the building? I mean, it only destroyed the one half of the building, and the other is collapsed from the inside, as you said.
The FAB 3000 radius of lethal damage to enemy personnel by shockwave is at least 40 meters. The radius of damage resulting in incapacitation of personnel, concussion wounds, etc., is up to 160 meters. And the full... Whoops, what did I do? No. Click here, and then like that. There we go. Radius for continuous damage is 230 meters, and fragments retain their destructive power at a range of 1,240 meters. 1,240 meters. For everybody...
A kilometer.
For everybody who's Imperial, that's a shit ton in Imperial. Here's the second... almost a mile, yeah. This is a second video that surfaced today as well. It was probably yesterday's attack, and yet again they missed. Yet again they missed. And I've got a still frame. Let me find the still frame here. FAB 3000 still frame. There we go. And that's the bomb, and that's the wing right there. And by estimates online, that's at least a 5-meter wingspan. Which is pretty huge, to say the least.
It's a fucking monster, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, basically. Okay, so we've done the FAB story. Let's see what other videos we have here next. Oh, we've got a comedic video. Do you watch soccer, also known as football?
Yeah,
We
I
we
do.
recently we recently played against the British. I think we lost.
Yeah, yeah. I almost got a
Um,
fucking heart attack in the last couple of seconds when we were playing with Slovenia. So yeah,
yeah, the Slovenia game was a little better, I guess. I didn't watch the whole
yeah.
game. The other one, as soon as I put it on, we got a goal and we lost the game because I watched till the end. So basically, next game I'm not gonna watch. But I just wanted to play this video for comedic effect because there was a brawl between apparently English fans and Serbian fans. And it turns out later that there were actually Albanians among them, or some stuff like that. But this is a video that shows a British guy who comes.
It's fucking hell! Police are coming in! Serbians! It's the Serbians! Go, go, go!
I just wanted to play that. The Brits. It's the Serbians. It's the Serbians.
But I don't get it. There's a Serbian flag in front of that restaurant, wherever that is. And then these guys come in and they expect a warm welcome, which is like, why? Why would you like go to the opposing team to do what?
It's not about opposing team even. It's like apparently the Serbs were just sitting down at the cafe and
That's the point.
and chilling. They came to be provocative and they provoked.
Well,
And
like,
they fafoed basically. They fafoed and they
exactly. I mean,
owed.
to be precise, I wouldn't go to an Albanian restaurant, in the middle of a game or before a game to fight anyone. I wouldn't go there at all. So the point is, I would be sitting in a Serbian restaurant. Obviously, I would do the same thing as these guys if I were just sitting, and then a bunch of all these other guys would come in trying to do, well, I don't know, to teach us about culture, I guess, because Albanians, that's what Albanians do, I suppose.
Yeah, at least the UEFA is actually doing something against the Albanian chanting at the Croatian game. But let's not get into sports. This is a comedy show. The sports has too much politics. Hunter Biden's conviction, a laughable attempt to mask America's two-tiered justice system. This is hilarious, man. You want to tell us
Yeah,
what this is about?
well, apart from admitting, finally, after a decade or two, of Hunter Biden being a junkie, they also admitted that the guy was carrying a firearm, actually acquired a firearm, which is completely forbidden under U.S. law. So you could be punished up to 25 years in prison for this. But however, Mr. Hunter Biden is not going to get more than, I guess, 3 months of community service for this. And I think that's what most normal people think. This was like a laughable attempt to create the image, or at least the illusion, that America has a functioning legal or justice system, because Trump was recently convicted on 34 counts of, I really don't know what, because it's fucking insane, of having sex with a porn star. Well, I mean, is America becoming a Puritan nation? Because I haven't heard any news about that. I mean, he wouldn't get the prize for being the best husband in the world, but my God, is it illegal? So the point is, I really don't get it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Trump being a junkie and then getting a firearm? Can you imagine what the justice system would do to him? Like they would sentence him to death, I think. So it's just insane. You can see the double standards from space. Like I was about to say from a mile away, but that would be an understatement. So you can see the double standards from space, and I think this is what's going to push a lot of people towards Trump. However, the point is, I think what they will probably try to do is to get him into jail before the election itself, and then God knows what's going to happen. It could be a total chaos in America.
Yes. Up to 500,000 NATO soldiers waiting to enter Ukraine. What?
Yeah, the Kiev regime is winning. That's why they want to enter it. So, you know the thing where the bear is carrying a small pig, and the pig says, "Help me, I'm winning," or "I'm winning, help," something like that.
Oh
So
yeah. We've had that meme on quite a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can imagine, like, that's essentially what it looks like. And according to NATO itself, they have around 300,000 soldiers ready to enter Ukraine. But some prominent Russian experts, like, for example, Konstantin Sivkov, he says that they have over 500,000 who are actually deployed in areas from Estonia to Romania. And these guys essentially have no business there unless they're going to enter Ukraine. If that happens, it's game on. It's game on for all of us, I guess, because the Russians will not tolerate it. Because what was the point of the SMO if NATO gets to occupy like 75% of Ukraine? Then all of that was for nothing, and the Russians cannot allow that, obviously.
Yeah, if NATO gets involved, these not so weekly updates are going to become a lot less regular. Let's put it that way. I think, to put it lightly. But other than that, yeah, Medvedev and Putin are not going to just sit down and take it. I don't know what these Westerners are actually trying when they're trying what they're trying. If that makes any sense.
The initial confrontation, if you want to call it that way, is probably not going to be nuclear. The thing is, the Russians can use just hypersonic missiles, bombers, and so on to take out as many troops as possible as a warning, for them just to stop. However, then NATO could respond with its own weapons, and then anything can happen from there. Like the Russians have said it multiple times, and this is one of their main principles of their military doctrine, is that they will not wage war like in World War II. They will not mobilize 5 million soldiers, 10 million soldiers to die fighting another Western aggression or invasion. They will just use nukes to obliterate any attacking force that goes towards Moscow. So if they try it, then I guess they should get ready to be glassed. So good luck with that.
Speaking of nuclear doctrine, you can confirm, because you're an actual journalist, I'm just like a comedian type of person. Did Putin actually say that they're going to change their nuclear doctrine to make little tactical nukes and use them on the battlefield?
Yep. I mean, they really have weapons for that. The point is, the Soviets had the largest stockpile of tactical nuclear weapons in history, obviously, and Russia inherited most of that. They dismantled 90% of that arsenal, but the arsenal was so massive that the Russians still have the largest thermonuclear tactical arsenal in the world. And the point is, you can use these things not just from jets and missiles. You actually have nuclear shells that can be fired by howitzers. So, and we're not talking about a few hundred, we're talking about thousands of shells that could be used to obliterate any attacking force. So, how are you going to defend against a single howitzer firing a nuclear shell that's 10 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb? Are you going to shoot down the shell? Because I'm not sure if that's going to work, and even if you do shoot it down, it's going to blow up. So good luck with all the radiation, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lose situation. Nobody wins, basically. I mean, at the end, whoever's left there on the pile of burning nuclear waste is a winner. But it doesn't seem like a win.
Yeah, you would have a week before your win goes to the win. So good luck.
How legitimate are Western leaders? Why are you asking difficult questions, Drago? These things are not supposed to be talked about. They are democracy. We are the authoritarianly subjugated, despot people.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it. Why are you asking questions?
I'm going to try to remember the numbers off the top of my head. I might make a mistake, but I think Maloney was the best. She had like minus 10%, and then everyone else were in, let's say, close to 50, minus 50%. I think Joe Biden, obviously that's truth. They're not lying about his percentage. They're saying it's minus 18.5, which I really find it hard to believe, but that's the number they provided. So I put it in the article. The rest of them seem pretty realistic. I think Macron is minus 31%. Kishida and Trudeau are minus 38, minus 40 respectively. And of course, Rishi Sunak is minus 56. Can you imagine like having more than a half of the population that supposedly voted for you hating you? So it's kind of interesting how that goes. Like when the West talks about democracy, and not a single leader has positive public approval in their own country. So it's kind of interesting. Scholz is at minus 51%. Good luck on the July elections, I guess. It's going to go very well.
I don't know what to tell you, man. All these leaders, all these elections, all of it seems very theater-like. You know what else is theater? But theater of the absurd. The Houthis, man. They released. By the way, they're not the Houthis. By the way, in case you didn't know, for people who don't know, they are called Ansar Allah, as in the helpers of God, and they are referred to as the Houthis because the leader's last name is Al-Houthi. So everybody there is now a Houthi. In any case, let's watch this video. This is a drone boat hitting the Tudor. I also watched video from on board the ship. Those security forces were Filipino or something. They weren't very professionally trained. That's all I can say. But yeah, how do you feel about what the Houthis are doing?
I mean, they're some of the bravest people I can think of in the world, and like there's a lot of countries in the world, and the point is like they're not even a country. They're a movement within a country that has been bombed for the last 10 years by this Saudi-led coalition supported by the US, the UK, Israel, and all these other countries. And like these people have gone through a decade of hunger. And we're not talking about like being hungry, for 2 hours and getting a meal. We're talking about being hungry for days. And despite all of that, they're still fighting. And if people see the images of these so-called Houthis, actually Ansar Allah, as you said, they're extremely skinny. Like you're probably asking yourself when you see them, like, how are these guys carrying weapons and ammo or anything for that matter? However, I really admire their courage, and I admire their like not giving a damn who they're fighting, and like having a much stronger spine, having an actual spine, unlike a lot of these other countries that are bordering Israel, because despite being in a position in which they are being attacked from all sides all the time, they're still launching strikes on Israel, right? So that tells you that they actually keep their word, and they are like a true ally of the Palestinians, unlike a lot of these other countries that are not, they're doing shit, essentially. So I really admire them. I really think they are among the very few, let's say, groups in the world that actually have balls.
Oh, that's one way to put it. Yeah, and I watched the recent video by S2 Underground. You can find them on YouTube, Telegram, wherever. It's intel stuff, military intel analysis of world events, and the guy looked into like why the U.S. is not attacking Yemen, like why they're not dealing with the problem in Yemen, and you look at the geography of Yemen, and they've got like a wall of mountains on that little corner of the coast, which is like 3,000 meters high, which is insane just to think about it. Like any kind of land operation against the Houthis would be like beyond suicidal.
Yeah. I mean, also even if NATO and its allies in the region had any sort of manpower, as you said, like it would be a bloodbath for them, because like you would have to be ready to lose 100,000 soldiers just to get the control over the shoreline. And while you're doing that, you will still get attacked by constant waves and waves of these Ansarullah fighters who are very, very determined in their goal of getting all the invaders out of their land. And they've been fighting for a very long time. They're accustomed to the worst possible conditions you can imagine.
To put it lightly, in modern terms, they've been fighting since GoPro 1. Because I remember, like, they used to put like the GoPros on themselves and go take out Saudi tanks, or actually American chieftains. Were they chieftains that the Saudis had originally? No, not
I
chieftains.
think they have both. They have two British chieftains and the U.S. Abrams tanks.
No, but what's the U.S. one that they sold to the Saudis before the Abrams, like the 80s U.S. tank? What's
the M60, I suppose, because
M60s. Yeah. I think it was M60s. The ones that the Houthis were taking out like flies, like 15 years ago, 10 years ago. I can't even remember.
They actually shot down at least one F-15, and they did it by using, I think it was R-73 short-range air-to-air missile, like a Soviet one. I might be wrong. I'm not, or R-27. I can't remember which missile was it, but it's an air-to-air missile that was essentially made into a surface-to-air missile that was launched from this makeshift platform. If I'm not mistaken, it's infrared guided. So it actually hit Saudi F-15, a $300 million plane that actually went down. So, and so much for the F-15 having 108 towards 0, as NATO claims.
Oh man, there's so many claims that are just hilarious. But yeah, the Houthis. What do you feel now that the Russians are officially going to let themselves give weapons to enemies of the U.S.? How do you feel that's going to impact some of these conflict zones?
Good luck being a U.S. or a U.K. sailor. It's going to be a very good time for you when those Sirkins start flying towards your position. I mean, you're not going to feel anything, just to be clear. So it's going to be very, very fun.
All right, let's get back to articles. We touched upon this, but why is Russia revamping its nuclear doctrine, and how is it revamping? Maybe would also be good to get into.
It's important to note that one of the highest-ranking Russian officials, Mr. Ryabkov, who is a deputy foreign minister, like the second guy just behind Lavrov in the Russian foreign ministry, he said that Russia is going to do this because of the actions of NATO. So in other words, they know that NATO is preparing 500,000 soldiers to enter Ukraine, which is why the Russians said, okay, well, let's see how they go through radiation and nuclear explosions. Obviously, the Russians didn't say that in that way. They were far more, let's say, they used a lot more euphemisms to explain what's going to happen. You just have to read between the lines. I mean, they were quite clear. I mean, if you know anything about diplomacy, they were quite clear what's going to happen if NATO gets directly involved.
Sounds like fun. Let's see. Do we have any videos that I can play that'll maybe lighten the mood? Oh, almost forgot about this one. No Nazis in Ukraine. Just doesn't happen.
Come on, man.
I don't know what you're. I don't know what you're talking about.
Child-friendly song. Why do you think it's a Nazi song? Like,
I don't know about the song. He was just stretching, man. He was stretching on top of that tank, and that graffiti is definitely just like ancient Indian symbols.
Yeah, and love and all these other nice things.
Yet again, I just want to thank everybody who's bought me a coffee, and tell you that you can buy me a coffee, and all the links to Drago's stuff and my stuff are in the description. Check out some of the other videos on this channel, and maybe subscribe if you like what you see. What is the recent reshuffling in the Russian MOD really about? Drago, take it away.
Yep. As we can see, this is the new Russian defense minister, Mr. Belousov. And he has made some really, well, let's say, tectonic changes in the Russian MOD. What they did when they started the investigation into some missing money. It's not a lot, but it's still like significant enough to result in an investigation. Mr. Belousov realized that he has to replace a lot of the deputies that are supposed to be doing their job in controlling the flow of money. So he installed 4 new deputies, especially Mr. Gornin, who's very important because he worked with Belousov in the Interbudgetary Commission of the Russian government. And he's known for a lot of these anti-corruption measures, which are quite brutal. So whoever wants to steal money from the Russian military, it's not going to end well for them now. And since the Russian Ministry of Defense is not going to be getting the most of the Russian state budget, it's important for Putin and his associates. It's important to redistribute that money in the best and most efficient way possible, which is why Belousov was downgraded to the position of the Russian defense minister, as the Western media would say. However, like, really downgrade a guy by giving him $500 billion in real money, I wouldn't say so.
We've got, I think, one more article here. Yeah, you've got one more article here, and it kind of ties in to some of the videos that we've got. So, America's strategic nightmare, Russia rebuilding alliances across the globe. I'll let you get into that a little bit, and then I'll play some videos that surfaced recently that are absolutely gold.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of people already know that Putin went to North Korea and these several other Asian countries. Before I actually mentioned what the Russians and the North Koreans signed, I mentioned also that Putin signed a number of agreements with Vietnam, with Cuba, and Venezuela. I mean, not Putin, the Russians in general. And the whole point is the Russians are expanding their scope of alliances, of actual military alliances around the world. But however, the most important one is the one that he signed with Mr. Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un is quite happy because he got Russia and as an ally, sort of like a NATO-like ally, because the agreement is completely unprecedented, because the Article 3 and 4 of this agreement, which has 23 clauses, which you can imagine how much that is in terms of like real deals between the two countries. Those two articles literally say that any attack on either of those two countries will mean the attack on both, and both countries will defend the other with any means they have at their disposal. I just want to remind people the Russians have 6,000 nuclear weapons, so good luck attacking North Korea.
Yeah, that's a serious change of what can I say, world politics and stuff like that. We've got some Pepe memes sent in or shared in the group by subscribers. Thank you for everybody who participates in the Telegram group. You are always welcome there, and in the comments here, I do answer comments, by the way. This was one of the better ones. Also, this is a good one with Pepe in the back. They all be chilling. They see me rolling and all that stuff. Let's see what else I got here. I think that's basically it. Drago, is there anything else that you'd like to cover or anything? Oh, no, wait. We've got a little thing here, also known as Taiwan.
Oh, yeah.
There was another PLA exercise today. PLA being People's Liberation Army of China. PLAN being the people. I love the acronym PLAN. They have a plan. Their plan is to use the plan against the plan of the U.S. Do you think this is going to go hot anytime soon? Considering, well, I mean, like we just discussed Russia and North Korea being like, ready to nuke anybody who attacks either.
Yeah. I think maybe not this year, maybe not even the next one. But by 2026, 2027, it's definitely going to go down. because the Chinese will need some time to prepare all the attack forces that they need. The problem for the Chinese now, I think what the Chinese are trying to do at this moment is they're trying to get Taiwan into some sort of like a Hong Kong-like status agreement, which is going to be a better alternative to war, obviously, because the Chinese don't want to go and die in a war against other Chinese people, because Taiwanese are, the vast majority of them, like 97% of them are Chinese. So there are very, very, very few of these native Taiwanese or whatever their ethnonym is. So the whole point is the Chinese are trying to find a solution so that they don't have to use the Navy. And all of these exercises of the plan, as you said, are the goal is to demonstrate to the Taiwanese that any sort of resistance is futile, because there won't be any, a grand American armada sailing across the Pacific and trying to bomb China to get them off Taiwan, because that's not going to happen. There might be some skirmishes here and there, but the point is America is not going to start World War Taiwan. It's not going to get obliterated by Chinese nukes to get Taiwan, because it makes no sense to do that. Otherwise, they would have done it when the Russians started the SMO in Ukraine. The thing is, China does have a lot smaller nuclear arsenal than Russia, meaning that it can damage the U.S. a lot less. But does it really make a difference if 50 ICBMs are going to land on you, or 1,000, because you're going to get obliterated either way? So the point is, I think the Chinese will continue trying to get Taiwan via peaceful means, which means that Taiwan is going to get some kind of a Hong Kong style autonomy within China. That's the best they can do, or they can die in the millions or hundreds of thousands for what? For nothing. And then they can be completely incorporated into China. So I guess for them, if they really want to make it as painless as possible, they can just make a deal with China and tell Americans to fuck off with all their wars and destruction.
Simply put. Yeah, from an alternate reality, we've got this popped up on my feed. Top right, you can see the Giron doing its thing. That would be an alternate reality I would be for. Also, I almost forgot, we've got to bring awareness to June being Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Is the cure to male loneliness starting a private military company with your friends? Written by a woman. Yeah. Drago, you're from Serbia. Let's me do this. There's that whole serious topics or serious themes and OnlyFans subject. So if any of our Serbian subscribers who might have watched this far into it want us to discuss our opinions on the recent drama in the Serbian online meme/blogo sphere, leave a comment and we might do an episode discussing that in detail. Almost forgot about this meme as well. I think that basically sums up everything we talked about. Everybody's like, "Oh, Putin looks so old." Putin, you better pray for Putin, man, because if something happens to Putin, the alternative is not good for most people. Let's put it that way.
A lot of Russians are quite angry. You don't want other Russians to come to power, believe me.
Yeah. Drago, anything else that you'd like to touch upon, maybe, before we round this off?
I think you said it all. The meme pretty much sums it up.
All right. Everybody who stuck around to the end, thank you. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. The music is going. We'll be back soon. Lots of good guests coming up. Drago, thank you again. Leave a comment, leave a share this, like, all that good stuff. Thank you. Bye-bye.